It's the internet, and we have a movie, and we have another discussion of how the internet is trying to derail an effort to entertain us. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I believe the official name of this movie is Snow White. Was it derailed by Peter Dinklage? This is our guy from the movie Elf. I know he was a part of some fantasy HBO series, but we like Dinklage in Elf. We also like him in X-Men: Days of Future Past. But with all of that, we try and chart where movies are sometimes before they get released. Now, most recently, we did that with Captain America: Brave New World. Now we're doing it for Disney's Snow White. This movie gets released March 21st, and we have to talk about it. There's a couple things people are missing from this production and the release. Let's go.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
Yeah, so episodes like this, my AKA powders, I look at as normie episodes. I'm making an episode. I'm making something for the normies out there that aren't terminally or infinitely connected online. So Peter Dinklage, this is our guy from Game of Thrones. He's from Elf. He's from X-Men: Days of Future Past. I think he's in this newer movie that came out last year called Brothers. I was really interested in seeing. I believe it's a road trip comedy. I love road trip comedy guys. Like, sign me up. But he's a preeminent actor. He happens to be a dwarf, happens to be, I guess, back in my day, we would call guys like Peter Dinklage a midget. These are terms that are challenging right now. And I feel they should be challenged because why the hell not? It's that simple. And it doesn't mean because we challenge those terms, censorship comes in. So Peter Dinklage sends this tweet out. This X, or hey, for newbies, a message to the internet, a message to the world, and he rakes Disney through the coals of Snow White. He's fine with that, and the Seven Dwarfs. The Seven Dwarfs sets him off. So Disney pivots, and it's not just Disney. Here we go. Big point that no one brings up about this. Disney and Mark Webb. This is our director, Mark Webb. A ton of music videos. Mark Webb. A ton of television work. Mark Webb. 500 Days of Summer. Spider-Man. 2012-2014. AKA the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. Gifted. 2017. The Only Living Boy in New York. 2017. Snow White. 2025. It has been some time since this guy has been a part of a production that Hollywood was focused on. Relatively speaking, 2014 was his last drop. 500 Days of Summer has resonated. That movie has carried on. I don't like the term aged well, but we will say it aged well. So Mark Webb and Disney, they decide to pivot and say, look, Snow White needs companions. She needs to find a tribe or a troop to help her get through adversity on some level. Now, I'm being very vague with some of the plot points of Snow White because we don't really know what they've done with this movie yet. So that's going to be point number 2. So here's what happens. They changed. It's Snow White and the Seven Enchanted Friends. Now, we don't know if this was the official retitling of the movie, but an image leaked out. Some might say, I agree, this was not a leaked image. This was to test the field. And we have 7 individuals. It's some people like to call it a diversity tribe or DEI tribe or trope or whatever. But it's a bunch of individuals that are not dwarves and they look like DEI hires. In some ways, DEI can mean it has a range of individuals of heights, shapes, and colors. That's maybe how DEI is going to get rebranded for the future. So this image comes out, and then boom, Disney sinks more money into this film, and it looks like that they're doing realistic CGI renders of the original Seven Dwarfs. So we have Sleepy, Dopey, we have Doc, we have Black Panther, whatever the heck they're all called. But they reimagine the dwarves in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs yet again for a second or even third time. I say 3 because we're potentially moving through 3 hardcore decisions here. So some of those leak out, and no one's happy. Do you guys see what's happening? What's happening here? So that's Peter Dinklage's. This is his contribution to American cinema, and here, and I say American cinema because Snow White is one of the most important pieces of film, of art, of cinema that this country's ever produced. Snow White is as significant to the pantheon of America's filmography as something like King Kong, Wizard of the Oz. The level of fantasy that's in those movies that I just mentioned changes the world as we look back. They change the world so much, they're still being made and adapted today, as evident with this movie. Snow White is the crown jewel of Walt Disney. Disney has what? 17? Maybe it's 13 of the top 20 films of all time. Disney is the biggest thing ever. The way how Disney wants to entertain the world is head spinning and jaw dropping. It's a slow motion head explosion. Disney is that diverse and aggressive with what they want to do with their capital, and they should be. So Peter Dinklage derails a American icon, a remake of a brand. It's not the Disney brand. So the Disney live action remakes. We're going to make another point here real quick. The Disney live action, these live action remakes, as a brand within Disney, they've been beat up. Now, everyone's excited for Lilo and Stitch. All of us, right? Magically, it's back, which is very odd because no one seemed to like that Super Bowl teaser trailer drop or a couple. We got a couple images of the live action Stitch, and by live action, I mean he's CGI but rendered to be more realistic. No one seemed to like The Lion King. No one seemed to like Aladdin. No one showed up for Mufasa. And a lot of these remakes, they're questioned as why. Why do we have this remake? We've discussed many of the remakes and these reimaginations on this very podcast. Because guess what, guys? I'm a film buff, and I buff around with the films. I buff up the films. So yeah, you guys can see where I'm getting frustrated because the way this movie is being torn down and attacked it's on multiple points here. it's an onslaught. So the brand itself that people want to play stupid and pretend that these films just aren't good. I've seen these films. I liked Aladdin. I love Beauty and the Beast. I like The Lion King. I like the expansion of what normally is 90 minutes into 2 hours plus. So they're adding plot points, they're adding details. The Robert Zemeckis Pinocchio, people ignored that. Tim Burton Dumbo, people ignored that. I'm really on the outskirts of these remakes. Now, here's the important thing. I view these remakes as a way to re-solidify the animation that they inspire. I haven't seen Mulan yet. I have to see Mulan. Maybe I'll put that on today. Sorry, just Rainbow. I'm waiting for the Pocahontas and the Hunchback of Notre Dame remakes because I love both of those, but I just think the visuals would be great. They reignited interest in their source material in the original. Peter Dinklage derailed a movie that should have a $500 million budget, that should be years and years in the making, that should have a level of anticipation and want and love around it, that this is where they finally arrived. Disney is doing this. This is Snow White, and we're doing it in live action. Snow White has been in live action a lot of other times, many other times. But here's the wild thing. Snow White and the Huntsman, just for a quick example. Sci-Fi Channel had a Snow White where Sigourney Weaver was the bad girl. But Disney's Snow White is a different characterization. So we get the brand under attack. So now we're attacking the title. Now the brand is under. Of all of this, the brand, the desire for these remakes, that's fair. Point number 2. We're taking the story, and we're potentially moving the story into the modern age. So Rachel Zegler, I follow her on Insta just because, I get curious. I get curious what Rachel is up to. We have a couple of red carpet moments, a couple quick interview moments. Maybe they're coached, maybe they're not. And the messaging gets put out that this is a Snow White that is not waiting for the prince. And it's weird. And this weird comment by Zegler, and weird's in quotes on that one, my AKA padders. It gets clipped and repeated. And Rachel Zegler basically throws a wrench in the gears of marketing, where she gives the impression that nobody likes the current Snow White, nor should they, because it brings in tones of helpless women. It brings in tones of the guy having to save the girl. It's not very third wave feminism. I'm for this position because this pretty much was what they did with Snow White and the Huntsman. And people love that movie. That movie got a sequel, guys. Potentially, is this movie moving into the realm of high fantasy with 2 female leads? Potentially. And as I'm talking to you guys, I'm looking at the movie poster with all of these amazing colors. But it looks like it, right, the movie poster looks like a cartoon. We're getting pitched a potential shift in what all of this means just as a movie. And people freak out. They hold on to those clips, and it's repeated. So much so that we recently got word, post-premiere, this movie dropped as a world premiere, and people were barred from the red carpet. It was a complete shutdown premiere. Now, this could be a pivot in 2 ways. It could be that Disney cracked the shell. Movies that we know that get rapidly remade as they're being made, and that's because the production methods of film have shifted. Movies are tested, they're focus grouped as they're being made throughout the entire production process. I will highlight this on a separate opinion episode, so be on the lookout for that. And we have Inventing Anna as a thank you for that from the Terms of Service podcast. POS podcast. So then we get this other wave of negative attention. Disney doesn't want anyone to see this movie. This movie is going to be a disaster. Everyone I talk to about Daredevil Born Again, just for example, currently on Disney Plus, people really are enjoying Daredevil Born Again. Solo, a Star Wars movie, is a fantastic film, and that was shifted and remade during the production process. Captain America Brave New World, same thing. Were characters that we know completely eliminated. Guys like Seth Rollins, the Serpent Society shifted. The meaning and intention and what that movie is changed during the production. So are they making movies now to align with interests and desires as they're being focus grouped and tested along the way? Most likely, potentially, yeah. Do we know the range of this focus testing, right? Are we in like a blue city, for example, and we get that? But either way, Disney pivoted a little bit around what the people might want to see in this movie. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with looking at Cinderella and saying, huh, okay, maybe we can change things just to make it more interesting, right? Maybe we can change things to make it a little bit more fun and different for people. I think you would expect any production house, any studio to rapidly take that position. And it seems like they have with this film. So these are our like 4 major positions. I know I said 3 in the opening. Against this movie. And if you guys are curious what you're film buff, I want to see this movie. If you guys are curious about what I think, I want to see this film. I think this is all marketing. And I think some bad things happen and some odd comments are made along the way. And the marketing is agile and it knows how to keep driving the interest regardless. Does this boil down to the idea of there's no bad press? I believe it does. I believe this is the game that Hollywood's been playing for quite some time. I'm not fooled by it, and I don't think you should be either. I think Snow White is the it's not the founding of Disney, but it's the founding film of Walt Disney. Walt Disney Pictures, Walt Disney Corp, Disney. And I think it's significant. I think it's important. I think seeing what Mark Webb, because I am a fan of his Amazing Spider-Man, I think Mark Webb is more than capable to handle this film. I think he is a premier director. And it's good to have him back. The promises even of his career and the Amazing Spider-Man films. Again, like so many things leading into that 3rd movie. That would bum me out. That would bum anyone out. And this is me catching you guys up on the Snow White drama. I do hope to see it. I hope to check it out in the theater. AKA Padders, I love you. Rock and roll.
Okay, that's a wrap.